First things first, what are Kabkab dates? Like, fundamentally.
Well, the source calls them a high-quality export date from Iran, so pretty significant.
High quality, okay.
And you might also hear them called Dashtestan dates. That's apparently a common name, too.
Dashtestan date. Why is that? Is there a story there?
Yeah, it's because they're grown, like, a lot in the Dashtestan region,
Huh.
specifically around Barazjan, that's in Bushehr province. Okay.
And also in Bebahan, which is in Khuzestan province. So those are the big spots.
Yeah, the heartland for them.
Right. But it also says they grow in other warm areas. Fars, Khuzestan, Bushehr provinces basically needs that heat.
Makes sense for dates, definitely. Southern Iran. What about the taste? Are they super sweet?
The article describes it as sweet, but not excessively so, which sounds nice, actually. Not too overpowering.
Yeah, sometimes dates can be almost too sweet.
Right. And it also mentions they have a warm and moist nature, which is, an interesting traditional way to describe food properties.
Warm and moist nature. We'll
Yeah.
have to come back to that. What about nutrition? What's inside them?
Okay, so nutritionally, they sound pretty packed. We're
Yeah.
talking iron, calcium, fiber, potassium, magnesium, even vitamins B and C.
Wow, okay, that's quite a lineup.
It is.
And does the source connect those nutrients to, like, specific health benefits?
It does, yeah. It suggests that because of all that good stuff, they might help with things like weak bones.
Okay, the calcium maybe? Probably. And heart issues, stomach problems, even bloating. Also low blood pressure and stress. It's quite a list.
Seems like a bit of an all-rounder.
Yeah.
What about how they grow? Is there a life cycle mentioned?
Yep. Like a lot of dates, they start off as kharak, that's the unripe, sort of firm stage.
Okay.
Then they soften up into the ruteb stage, and finally they become the fully ripe brown date that we usually think of.
Gotcha. And size-wise? Big? Small?
Average seems to be oval-shaped, about 15 grams, maybe 4 centimeters long, so a decent size.
15 grams, 4 centimeters. Yeah, that's a good mouthful.
Definitely. And clearly suited for those hot climates down south in Iran.
So how do people typically use them then? Just snacking?
Snacking is definitely one way, yeah. Great for energy,
Mm,
but also used in making sweets, apparently. And like we mentioned, people eat them specifically for those potential health benefits.
right. Makes sense. Okay, let's dig a bit deeper into that nutrition. The article breaks it down per 100 grams, right? What jumps out?
Well, the calorie count is 274 per 100 grams, so decent energy. Okay.
But what's really interesting is the macro breakdown. Total fat is super low, like zero point 0.4 grams. Sodium is almost nothing, 2 milligrams.
Wow.
But then you get 75 grams of carbs, which is expected for dates. And here's a big one, 8 grams of dietary fiber.
8 grams. That's quite a lot, isn't it? Like 29% of your daily value.
Exactly. Really good for digestion. And then there's about 2.5 grams of protein, so 5% of your daily value there.
Okay, so lots of carbs, impressive fiber, minimal fat. What about the vitamins and minerals and micronutrients?
Right. So the source says vitamin C and D are basically 0.
Okay, not a source for those then.
Nope. But you do get some iron, 1 milligram, which is 6% daily value. Calcium is 39 milligrams, about 3%. But then potassium is a big one again. 656 milligrams, that's 14% of your daily need.
14% potassium, that's significant.
It really is. So maybe not your go-to for vitamins, but definitely pulls its weight with fiber, iron, and especially potassium.
And I guess it's this whole package, the fiber, the minerals, the energy that leads to those broader benefits the article mentions. That's the idea, yeah. Things like helping you feel full.
The fiber, probably.
Yeah, supporting eyesight, stronger bones, that's the calcium, and maybe other minerals having a calming effect, maybe the magnesium,
Could be.
boosting energy, obviously,
Hmm.
aiding digestion, providing those natural sugars. It even mentions healthy skin and hair and general disease prevention. It covers a lot of ground.
It really does. Now, back to that warm and moist nature thing you mentioned. The article digs into that a bit more.
It does. It seems to come from traditional Persian medicine concepts.
Okay.
The idea is that foods have these inherent qualities, and because Kabkab dates are seen as warm and moist, they're thought to be particularly good for people with a cold disposition. Helps balance things out, you know?
That's fascinating. It's a totally different way of looking at food than just like vitamins and minerals.
Exactly. But there's a flip side, too.
Oh, a warning.
Kind of, yeah.
Yeah.
The article advises that if you already have a warm nature, you probably shouldn't overdo it with these dates.
Why? What happens?
It suggests too many could lead to things like skin redness, maybe some inflammation, itching, even little subcutaneous pimples.
Hmm, interesting. So moderation is key, especially depending on your disposition.
Right. It's all about balance, according to that traditional view.
Okay. So say I have a bowl of mixed dates. What are the telltale signs that this one is a Kabkab date? What should I look for?
Good question. Okay. Key characteristics. Taste. Velvety sweet is the description.
Velvety sweet. Okay.
Oval and noticeably long, more elongated than some others.
Right.
Skin. It's a bit shiny, definitely wrinkled, and tends to feel slightly sticky where it meets the flesh.
Sticky, wrinkled, long, oval.
Yeah.
Got it. What we mentioned. 9 to 18 grams length, 3.5 to 5 centimeters. Moisture content is key too. It's around 18 to 20%. Yeah. That classifies it as semi-dry, but still with a good amount of syrup inside.
Semi-dry, okay. Not super gooey then.
Not usually, no. Color-wise, remember the stages?
Yeah.
Bright yellow when it's unripe, kharak.
Right, the inedible stage. Exactly. Then it ripens to a dark brown, sometimes almost blackish in that ruteb stage.
Dark brown to black.
Okay. Another thing, the pit, or seed, is apparently quite attached to the flesh. Doesn't separate easily.
Ah, good to know.
And of course the origin, Bushehr, Khuzestan in Iran. Oh, and the Persian name, if you ever see it written, is Ete Kormaye Kabkab.
Wow. Okay, that's a pretty detailed checklist for spotting them.
Definitely helps narrow it down.
So let's circle back to some of those health benefits in a bit more detail. Anemia was mentioned. How do they help there?
That's linked directly to the iron content.
Right.
Iron's crucial for making red blood cells, right?
Right, carrying oxygen.
So getting some iron from Kabkab dates can help boost your levels, which is important if you're low or prone to anemia.
Makes sense. And constipation. You mentioned fiber earlier.
Exactly. That high fiber content, 8 grams per 100 gram, remember, is great for digestion, adds bulk, helps things move along regularly.
Yep.
So yeah, potentially good for avoiding or easing constipation.
Okay. And what about brain function? How do dates help your brain?
The article points to the B vitamins, magnesium, and potassium.
The big three from the nutrient list.
Yeah. These are all known to be important for brain health, good for cognitive function, concentration.
Right.
Maybe even helping protect against decline as we age.
Always good to hear. And bloating, how does that connect?
Well, it ties back to the digestive health aspect again. If the fiber is helping keep things regular and your gut is happy, then you're less likely to get bloated.
That seems to be the logic, yeah.
Yeah.
Promoting a healthy system overall.
Okay. And strong bones, that's the calcium, right?
Primarily, yes. Calcium is the building block for bones and teeth.
Right.
So getting some from dates contributes to your daily intake.
Got it. Now, this one was interesting. Improving sexual stamina. What was the reasoning there again?
The article links it to a few things. That warm nature from traditional medicine.
Right.
Plus the general energy boost you get from the nutrients. It also suggests they might help with fatigue and even depression, which can indirectly impact, vitality.
I see. So kind of a combination of factors. Seems like it. Especially framed within that traditional idea of balancing cold temperaments.
Fascinating stuff. And stress reduction. That was magnesium.
That's what the article attributes it to, yeah. Magnesium has that reputation for calming the nervous system, so being a good source might help promote relaxation, reduce that stressed feeling.
Okay. And weight management.
Yeah.
It sounded like it could go both ways.
Yeah, it's interesting. The idea for weight loss or management is that the fiber and nutrients help you feel full for longer.
Right, so you eat less overall.
Potentially, yeah. Curbs cravings, supports digestion, but then because they are nutrient-dense and have calories, the article also notes they could help someone who's underweight gain weight in a healthy way.
So context matters. Depends on your goals and overall diet.
Absolutely. And finally, heart function.
What was the connection there?
That comes down to the potassium, calcium, magnesium, and B vitamins again. All these play roles in things like maintaining healthy blood pressure, muscle function, basically supporting the cardiovascular system.
So quite the list of potential pluses. When's the best time to get them fresh? Harvest season.
The article says warm months. Early August through late summer seems to be the peak time.
Okay, summer dates. And definitely avoid the unripe kharak stage, right?
Oh, absolutely. It emphasizes they're inedible then. Apparently very high in tannins, makes them really astringent. Gotta wait for them to ripen fully.
Good tip. Okay, so we know a lot about kabkabs now. How do they stack up against other dates people might know, like medjool or diglitinours?
Good comparison point. Okay, so color when ripe. Brown, light to dark, texture, slightly firm with that wrinkled skin.
Firmer than medjool, maybe.
Probably, yeah. Medjools are usually very soft. And sweetness. The article says kabkabs are generally less sweet and have less sugar than some other types.
Oh, interesting. Less sweet.
And drier than Mazafati dates, which is another popular Iranian variety known for being very moist.
So less sweet, firmer, drier than some of the really popular soft ones. What about growing them? Are they easier to grow?
The article suggests the palms are pretty adaptable, actually. It can grow in most southern regions of Iran, unlike some fussier varieties.
Uh-huh. Resilient.
Yeah. But remember, their unripe kharak stage is inedible, which isn't true for all date types. Some unripe dates are eaten.
Ah, another distinction.
And uses beyond just eating, mentioned for baking sweets, and even some traditional medicinal uses.
Okay, so if I buy a bunch, how should I store them?
Best bet, according to the source. Sealed container, cool, dry place. Keep them away from contamination. Stored like that, they should last a good 12 to 18 months.
A year to a year and a half. That's pretty good.
Yeah. And if you need longer, refrigerator or freezer are options too.
Okay, practical. And last thing, buying them. How do I pick out the good ones? Avoid the duds.
Key things to look for. Natural appearance, not crushed or damaged, no weird smells.
Obvious ones, okay.
Check the syrup level. Some is normal for a semi-dried date, but if they're absolutely swimming in it, that might mean they're not as fresh or maybe lower quality.
Right, too much syrup is suspicious.
Color is also mentioned as a quality factor, though it doesn't specify the perfect shade of brown. And just, buy them from a clean place that seems to store them properly, right temperature, humidity, all that.
Makes sense. Look for natural, not damaged, not overly syrupy, and buy from a good source.
Pretty much sums it up.
Well, wow. That really was a deep dive into Kabkab dates. We covered a lot.
We definitely did. From, where they grow in Iran, that whole nutritional breakdown, what makes them unique to look at and taste, and all those potential health links.
Yeah, hopefully that gives everyone listening a really solid, clear picture based on the info you sent us.
Hope so. It paints a picture of a pretty interesting fruit.
It really does. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? About all the other types of dates out there from different regions. How different are they really in terms of, say, nutrition or how they're traditionally used?
That's a great point. There's probably a huge diversity we don't often think about.
Yeah. Maybe something to keep an eye out for next time you're browsing the grocery aisle or a specialty market. Anyway, thanks for joining us for this exploration.
My pleasure.